Let's start in a comfortable seated position. Allow your sitting bones to connect with the mat. Let your spine lengthen upwards and allow your shoulders to relax away from your ears. Let your eyes close and have your hands gently resting on your knees. Bring your attention to your breathing. Inhaling deeply through the nostrils and exhaling through the nostrils. As we travel through the course of the class today, allow your breath to be the bridge between your body and your mind. If you find your breathing becomes shallow, just ease gently out of the posture and come back into it, aiming to keep the breath deep and steady. Observe if there's any tension in any areas of your body, and try and release and relax into the pose, even as you're strengthening. We're going to come into some neck rolls now. Start by bringing your chin down to your chest. Keep the spine long, let your shoulders stay relaxed away from the ears. As you inhale, bring your head to the right, rotate up and around and to your left and down. Continue moving in this direction. And be sure to stay connected with the breath. We'll complete one more circle in this direction. And coming into the opposite direction, turning your head to the left, rotating up and around, and to your right and down. Keeping the shoulders still and the spine long. Allow yourself to feel the fluid motion of the neck. And completing one more circle in this direction. Allow your chin to come back down to the chest and then float the head back up. And coming into some shoulder circles now, bring your hands onto your shoulders, fingertips in front and thumbs behind. Bring the elbows together in front of the chest, inhale up and back and roll the shoulders back and down. Rotating in this direction, squeezing the shoulder blades together at the back of the body, lengthening the arms up as you inhale. And traveling in the opposite direction, feel the movement of the shoulders, keep the spine long, let the face be relaxed, and make sure to breathe deeply. One more circle in this direction. And let the arms float back down, releasing the shoulders. Inhale the right arm up into the air, reaching up out of the shoulders, and bend the elbow, bringing the hand down between the shoulder blades. With the left hand, gently clasp the right elbow and bring it in towards the side of the head. Another option for this pose is to bring the left hand down behind you and reach up to clasp the hand. Breathe here, relax that right shoulder. Feel the spine staying long and let the face be relaxed. And releasing the left hand down alongside the hip, reach the right arm up into the air. Allow it to float back down to the floor. Reach the left arm up now. Bend the elbow, bring the palm between the shoulder blades, and with the right hand, gently bring the elbow into the side of the head. You have the option of staying here or to go a little bit deeper. Reach the right arm down and clasp the hands behind the back. Let that left shoulder relax. Let the face relax. And breathe into the stretch. Reach the left arm up and float the left arm down to the floor. Roll the shoulders back up and around a couple of times in each direction, just loosening those shoulders out and coming forward. And preparing to come onto our hands and knees now. Coming into table position, let the knees be hip width apart underneath the hips and the hands shoulder width apart underneath the shoulders. Make sure the fingers are spread wide and the arms are strong but not locked. Allow your belly to pull slightly in towards your spine so you keep your torso strong and long. as if it's a table, flat on the back. On the next inhalation, open the chest and lift the chin upwards. Pull the shoulders down away from the ears and tilt the tailbone up into the air. As you exhale, round the back, pulling the tailbone under, tuck the chin into the chest, stretching out the top of the spine. Continue moving through cat-cow, inhaling and opening, and exhaling and rounding. A gentle warm-up for the spine. Feel each part of the spine move as you extend and lengthen. On the next exhalation, rounding the back, holding in cat pose, pulling the belly button in towards the spine, and lengthening right up in through the mid-back, as if someone's placing their hand on your mid-back and you're gently trying to push up into it. On the next exhalation, soften the belly back down into table pose, walk the hands forward an inch or two, and preparing to go back into downward dog, tuck the toes under, lift the buttocks into the air, lengthen the spine as you pull the shoulders away from the ears. Now, if you're feeling any strain in the lower back here, feel free to bend the knees and allow your spine to lengthen a little bit further. If your hamstrings are tight, the bent knee version is always an option. As you're in downward dog, if you can straighten the legs, allow the heels to lengthen right down to the mat. You can facilitate this by pushing your thigh muscles in towards your thigh bones, and imagine a hook coming out of your tailbone, pulling your tailbone upwards. As you're holding in downward dog, breathe into the rib cage. Imagine sending the breath right in between the vertebrae of the spine, and keep the inner palms fully connected with the mat, as if you're gently pushing a dime into the mat underneath your thumb joints. On the next inhalation, lifting the heels up into the air. As you exhale, lower the knees down to the mat and pause here in table pose. On the next inhalation, look up, pull the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, round the back, pulling the belly in towards the spine. Lengthening back to downward dog on the next exhalation. Once more, lifting the tailbone upwards. Feel the spine long, the shoulders pulled away from the ears. If at any point you feel fatigued in downward dog, please feel free to come down onto your hands and knees and rest there. On the next inhalation, start to walk the feet towards the hands, allowing the feet to be hip-width apart, coming into the hanging forward bend. Clasp your elbows with your hands. Allow your head and neck to dangle. If there's any strain on your lower back, feel free to bend your knees as deeply as you need to. If there isn't a strain on the lower back, allow the legs to be as long and straight as possible. Take note whether you're pushing your weight into the heels of your feet. If you are, allow the weight to be evenly balanced between the balls and the heels of the feet. As you're hanging in the forward bend, make sure that your face is relaxed, that your breath is deep and easy, and that you're feeling an opening of the lower back and a lengthening up the back of the legs. On the next exhalation, release the hands, let the arms dangle downwards. We'll come into a roll up now, bending the knees slightly, tuck the tailbone under, pull the belly button in towards the spine, and let yourself come up one vertebra at a time, restacking the spine. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears and your head float up. You should feel lighter and taller. And coming into the Sun Salutation series now, bringing the feet together, firmly planting them on the mat. Bring the hands into prayer position in front of the heart, drop the shoulders away from the ears, and exhale the breath. On the inhalation, sweep the arms out to the side and up, bring the palms together above the head, and exhale, swan dive down, hinging from the hips, bending the knees if necessary. Inhale, sliding the hands up the shins to flat back. And exhale, stepping back to plank or push-up position, shoulders above the wrists. Exhale, lower down to the floor. On the inhalation, coming up to cobra pose, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the elbows tucked in towards the rib cage. Keep the thighs and hips grounded. Pull the belly button in towards the spine to protect the lower back. And exhaling, tucking the toes under and pushing back to downward dog, using the core to facilitate the motion so you're not straining the lower back. If at any point during this sequence you feel fatigue in the spine or in the arms, please feel free to come out of downward dog and rest on the mat. Otherwise, sending the breath right into the back of the torso, filling the rib cage with the breath. Shoulders and arms are strong but not locked. Legs are strong. On the next inhalation, step the feet forward between the hands and inhale, coming up to flat back, hands up the shins. Exhale, folding deeply. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side and up, palms above the head, and exhale into prayer pose. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, hinging from the hips as you swan dive down, pulling the belly into the spine. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step back to plank or push-up position. This time you can either lower right down to the floor or come down to Chaturanga Dandasana, parallel to the floor, inhaling to upward dog. Now in upward dog, if you need to bring your legs to the mat, that's absolutely fine. If there's any strain on the lower back, that is a great option. Otherwise, keep the legs strong, sending the energy back through the toes, and think about zipping up a really tight pair of trousers in the front of the torso to protect the lower back. Shoulders are pulled down away from the ears, the chin is slightly lifted. Exhale, tuck the toes, send yourself back to downward dog. And just a reminder, if there's any strain on the lower back or if you have tight hamstrings, you always have the option of bending the knees to facilitate a deeper stretch of the legs and a longer spine. If your legs are straight, imagine pushing the thigh muscles into the thigh bones and lengthen those heels towards the mat. Imagine sending the breath in between the vertebrae of the spine. On the next inhalation, stepping the feet forward between the hands, coming to flat back, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, and exhaling, folding. Keep the legs strong as you inhale the arms out to the side and up, looking to the palms. Exhale, back to prayer pose. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, swan dive forward and down. Inhale to flat back, shoulders away from the ears, and exhale, fold. Inhale, step the feet back to plank or push-up. Keep the core strong, lowering down either to the mat or Chaturanga Dandasana, inhaling to upward dog or cobra. Exhale to downward dog. The sun salutation is a great sequence to warm up every muscle in the body. It's great for strengthening the core and the muscles surrounding the spine, as well as the legs, the arms, and the shoulders. Stay connected with the breath. And on the next inhalation, stepping the feet forward between the hands. Come to flat back and exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, opening the chest. And exhale to prayer. Coming into the sun salutation once again. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale to flat back, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, step back to plank or push-up position. Strong core as you lower yourself down, keeping those elbows tucked in. Inhale, open the chest upwards. Exhale, back to downward dog, holding here. And just a reminder, if you're feeling fatigued at all or you need a rest, please feel free to come out of the pose. It's important to listen to the body as you travel through these postures. And if there are any signs of fatigue or tiredness or too much tension, we really want to allow ourselves to rest and rejuvenate. Inhale, stepping the feet forward between the hands, come to flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side. And exhale to prayer pose. Inhale. Exhale down. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And exhale back to plank or push-up. Feel the strength in those arms as you lower down. Inhale to upward dog or cobra. Exhale to downward dog. We'll come into some variations here. You can either stay in downward dog. If you'd like another option, keep the arms strong, bring the feet a little bit closer together, and extend the right leg up into the air, aiming to keep the pelvis square to the floor. The heel is lengthening up as if it's reaching towards the ceiling. The leg is strong. On the next exhalation, lower the leg down to the mat. Switching sides, lifting the left leg up into the air. It's important here to notice what's happening with the shoulders. Try not to sink the shoulders down, instead to keep the line and length in the shoulders and the spine. Exhale, release the left foot down to the floor. Pause there in downward dog. On the next inhalation, step the feet forward between the hands. Come to flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms out to the side and up. And exhale to prayer. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale to flat back. And exhale, step back to plank or push-up position. Lower down with control. And inhale, open the chest upwards. Exhale back to downward dog. Again, you can either stay in downward dog, or to go a little bit deeper, bring the feet a little bit closer together. Lift the right leg up into the air, open the hip to the side, and then bend that knee, bringing the heel in towards the buttock. If you feel comfortable on the neck, you can look underneath your right armpit. Be sure to keep the arms strong. Lengthen the leg back up into the air, rotate the pelvis down, and release the leg. And coming on the left side, lifting the left leg up, extend out of that hip, and then open the hip to the side, bend the knee, bring the heel in towards the buttock. Feel the openness in the hip, the thigh, and if you feel comfortable, you can look underneath the left shoulder. On the next inhalation, straighten the leg back up into the air, rotate the hip, and release the leg down, pausing in downward dog for a breath. On the next inhalation, step the feet forward between the hands. Bring yourself to flat back, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, and exhale, fold deeply. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side and up. And exhale to prayer. Pause here, reconnect with the breath, and just observe any sensations or feelings in the body. You should feel quite warmed up by now. Continuing on with some standing postures, take a comfortable step out to your left with your left foot, coming into a straddle pose. Firmly plant the feet, and then turning the right foot away from your body, turn your left big toe inwards slightly. Inhale, float the arms up so they're parallel to the floor, and exhale, reach out with that right arm, extending into triangle pose, rotating the left fingertips upwards as you drop the right arm down. If you feel comfortable, you can look up to the left hand with the head. If you suffer from glaucoma, migraines, or have high blood pressure, I suggest looking straight ahead or down. As you're in triangle pose, think about rotating that right knee slightly so it's pointed in the direction of the right foot. Feel the openness of the hips and think about lengthening the spine. Keep reaching up with the left hand. And on the next inhalation, lifting the torso up, lengthen out of those left fingertips, and exhale, release the hands down alongside the hips. Turn the right foot in and the left foot out. Inhale, float the arms up. Reach out with the left arm, lengthen the spine, and rotate into the pose. Either looking up, straight ahead, or down. Keep the legs strong but not locked. And imagine a line from the tailbone right up the crown of the head, keeping the spine lengthened and open. On the next inhalation, reaching up with the arm, lengthen the torso and relax the arms alongside the hips. Turn both feet in and then widen your stance a little bit further, making sure your feet are still comfortably planted on the mat. Turn your right foot out to the side and float your arms up so they're parallel to the floor. Coming into Warrior Two pose here, start to bend that right knee, coming into a lunge, gazing over the right fingertips. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, but keep the arms strong. And imagine that you're opening your right knee slightly as if it's lengthening towards your pinky toe of the right foot. The core is strong here. The legs are sturdy but not locked. Remember to breathe. If at any point you feel a pressure in the knee joint in this pose, please come out of it and come back in gently, not going as deeply as you did before. On the next inhalation, straighten that right leg, keep the arms up, turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out to the side. Bending the left knee, coming into Warrior Two on this side. Gazing over the left fingertips, keep the left knee open and the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. The spine is long, the core is active, the legs are strong. Notice what's happening in your jaw here. If you feel your jaw is tensing up, just relax the root of the tongue, let your face soften, and reconnect with your breath. Your breathing will always signal how you're doing in these poses. On the next inhalation, straightening the left leg, turn the foot inwards and relax the arms down alongside the body. Bring the hands onto the hips, preparing to come into the straddle forward bend. Let your big toes turn slightly inwards and make sure that all four corners of the feet are touching the mat. So you're pushing into the heels and the balls of the feet evenly. Inhale, lift the chest slightly, pull the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Allow the forehead to lengthen down. Come into the bend and then bring the hands onto the mat, shoulder width apart. It's important here not to lock the knees. If you feel any strain behind the knee joints, give your knees a slight bend, but make sure you're really activating those thigh muscles as if you're pulling the kneecaps upwards. The belly is pulled gently in towards the spine, the sits bones are open, and your feet are firmly planted. On the next exhalation, bring the hands onto the hips. And inhale, lift the torso up in one smooth motion. Relax the hands away from the hips and bring the feet together, turning to face the front of the mat, standing at the back of the mat. Allow your feet to be hip width apart. Inhale the arms out to the side. And then exhale, interlace the fingers behind your back. Roll your shoulder blades towards one another. If this feels too uncomfortable, you can clasp your elbows with your hands behind your back. So just monitor how your shoulders and neck are feeling today. On the next inhalation, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, bend the knees slightly, and hinge forward with the hips, letting the arms come over and hanging in the chest opening, forward bend. Once more, I'll bring your attention to where your weight is balanced. If you feel you're sinking back into your heels, allow your weight to come gently forward between the heels and the balls of the feet. Otherwise, you might feel too much pressure behind the knees. With each exhalation, allow the arms to come a little bit further, thinking about pulling the belly towards the spine so the hips will release. The neck and face are relaxed. The breath is steady. Now, keeping your torso in the forward bend, bring your arms back to your lower back, and then unclasp the hands, let the arms float down to the mat, feeling a release in the shoulders, the head, and neck. From here, tuck the tailbone under, bend the knees slightly, and roll yourself up. Lengthening and releasing the shoulders. Coming into a gentle back bend from here, bring the hands onto the lower back, fingertips pointed downwards, shoulder blades pointed slightly towards one another. Inhale, look up, allow the hips to come forward and lift the chest. And coming back to standing, release the arms alongside the hips. Preparing for Warrior One pose now. On the next inhalation, reach the arms out to the side, palms facing one another, stepping forward with the right foot into Warrior One, as deeply as you can comfortably. You may need to adjust the foot or shimmy that front foot forward once you get there. Keep the feet stable and bend that right knee coming into the lunge. A key thing here is not letting this knee come beyond the ankle. So you want to aim for the knee to be directly above the ankle. Let that left hip pull forward slightly. If you feel comfortable, you can bring the palms together and look up gently. Keep the belly pulled in towards the spine to protect the lower back. If there's any strain on the lower back, you can tip your torso forward, coming into a lengthened spine. From Warrior One, we're coming into Warrior Three pose. So bring your hands down onto your hips. Allow your weight to come into that front leg. Shimmy that left foot forward slightly and come into a balancing pose, lifting the left leg up behind you. This may be where you stay. If you feel like you can go a little bit deeper, take the hands off the hips and come into airplane pose with the hands, with the arms behind you, palms facing downwards. Keep the core strong. Be careful not to lock the standing leg. If you feel balanced enough here, you can reach the arms forward alongside the head, reaching the fingertips towards the front of the room. Breathe deeply. On the next inhalation, start to drop the left leg as you bring the torso upwards, lengthen the arms, bring the feet together, and come to rest in prayer pose. Just take a moment to breathe. And coming back into the sequence on the opposite side, keep the left foot forward, step back with the right foot, come into the lunge on this side. Inhale the arms out to the side and up, starting with the palms parallel, bend the knee, tuck the tailbone under, keep the chest lifted, and if you feel comfortable, bring the palms together, looking upwards. Shoulders are dropped away from the ears, the legs are strong. And again, just noticing what's happening with that front knee. Making sure it's not going beyond the ankle. You want to aim for it to be directly above the ankle. And coming into our balancing warrior, bring the hands back down onto the hips. Lean the weight forward into that left foot. Lift the right leg up behind you. Keep that standing leg strong. If it's locking, you can bend it slightly. Core is strong. Second option is sending the arms into airplane pose. And the third option is sending the arms out in front of you. It's a difficult pose to balance in, so keep the core strong, keep that standing leg strong, make sure the breath is there to energize you. On the next inhalation, lifting the torso up. As you drop that right leg down, bring the feet together and the hands in prayer, pausing here. Take a breath. And stepping your left foot out to the side once more, coming into a comfortable straddle. Keep your heels where they are and open your big toes out on a 45-degree angle, coming into the warrior goddess pose. Reach the arms out to the side, bend the elbows, send the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And imagine creating a straight line with the arms, sending the energy out of the elbows. On the next exhalation, start to bend the knees. Keep the knees open, spine long. If you start to tip forward from the hips, it means you've gone a little bit too far, and allow yourself to come up a couple of inches. Keep opening the knees. Relax the face and breathe. On the next inhalation, push into the feet, straighten the legs, let the arms lengthen out to the side, and release the hands down. Bring the hands and feet together at the front of the mat, and come into prayer pose once more. On the inhalation, sweep the arms out to the side, palms come together, and exhale, swan dive down into the forward bend. Inhale to flat back. Exhale, step back to plank or push-up position. Lower yourself down once more, either to chaturanga or the floor, and then inhale to up dog or cobra. Exhale back to downward dog. Breathe here, lengthening right up out of the spine. And on the next exhalation, bring the knees down to the mat. Sit your tailbone back towards the heels and let your forehead rest on the mat. You can either keep your arms out in front of you or make a pillow with your hands for your forehead, or come into classical child's pose with the hands alongside the legs, palms facing up. Allow your tailbone to relax, letting your buttocks release down towards the heels and your shoulders relax away from the ears. Resting here, that completes our standing sequences for today. Coming on to your hands and knees into table pose. Again, planting the hands firmly underneath the shoulders, spread the fingers wide, and let the arms be strong but not locked. The knees are hip width apart. Important here to keep the belly pulled in towards the spine, and imagine that your back is the top of a table. Imagine having a glass of water on each shoulder and on each hip, and you're aiming to try and keep them full without spilling. Keep the core strong, and on the inhalation, float the right arm up into the air so it's parallel to the floor. You may want to stay here, or you can extend the left leg out as another option, floating it off the floor. Just be careful here that you're not lifting the leg too high, and again, keeping the core strong, being sure not to let the belly drop towards the mat. The face is relaxed, the breath is steady. Exhale, float the arm and leg down. Inhale, float the left arm up. And if you feel comfortable, extend the right leg back, lengthening out of the hip. Exhale, release the hand and knee down. Inhale the right arm up, extend the left leg back. Make sure those glasses of water aren't spilling, the core is strong. And you can imagine someone placing their hand on your mid-back and you're gently pushing up into it. It will keep your core active. Exhale, release the hand and knee down. Reach the left arm up. Extend that right leg back. You can imagine you have strings on the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes, lengthening forwards and backwards, and releasing down. Once more on each side. Right arm lifts, left leg lifts. Make sure your standing arm is strong. And exhale, release down. Reach the left arm up and the right leg back. And releasing down. Pausing here. Preparing to go back into plank pose, extend the right leg back, tucking the toes under, and then extending the left leg back, holding here. Be careful not to let the buttocks drop down and keep the belly button pulled in towards the spine. If this feels a little too much for you, you're welcome to bring the knees down to the floor. You're working the exact same muscles. Just make sure that the shoulders are pulled away from the ears. The arms are strong but not locked. The face is relaxed. And exhale, release the knees down to the mat. Sit yourself back in child's pose. Just give the arms a rest and breathe. Preparing to come up into plank once more. Bringing your weight forward above the wrists, tuck the toes under, and lift the legs. You can also think about pushing the heels back towards the back of the room. And again, I'll urge you to listen to your lower back. If there's any strain, please feel free to bring your knees to the mat. Otherwise, keeping the core strong by pulling the belly button in towards the spine, shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. And releasing the knees back down to the mat, resting in child's pose once more. Relax the lower back, relax the shoulders. And coming back to plank pose, we'll lower ourselves down to the mat. So tucking the toes under, lift the knees and legs off the floor, and keeping the elbows tucked in towards the rib cage, lower yourself right down to the floor. And then extend the arms alongside the hips with the palms face down. You can allow your forehead to rest on the mat, or if you're comfortable, you can lift the chin and place the chin on the mat looking forward at about 2 inches. Keep the belly button pulled in towards the spine. Think about the hips having weights on them, pulling yourself into the floor. On the inhalation, float the right leg up out of the hip as if you're lengthening the big toe towards the back of the room. Exhale, release down. Inhale the left leg up, lengthening. And exhale, release down. Inhale the right leg upwards. And exhale down. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale down. Inhale the right leg up. And exhale down. Inhale the left leg up. And exhale down. Once more, inhaling the right leg up and exhaling down. Last time, the left leg up and releasing. Continuing on with a double leg lift, inhale both legs off the floor. Inhale, lift the chin and chest off the mat, pull the shoulders away from the ears. This may be where your pose stays today, or if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, interlace the fingers behind your back, lift the hands off the buttocks, and open the chest a little bit higher. Again, I'll urge you to connect with the belly and the lower back, making sure the core stays active to protect your lower back muscles. Any point if you need to come down and rest, please feel free to do so. You shouldn't feel any discomfort in the lower back, so please be aware of what's happening in the spinal muscles. Exhale, release yourself down. Make a pillow with the hands for the forehead and rest your head to one side. Feel the lower back rise and fall with the breath. Let all of the muscles in the body release. And preparing for the single-legged bow pose, bend the right knee, bring the heel in towards the buttock, and take hold of the ankle or the foot with the right hand. Allow the heel to soften towards that right buttock, feeling an opening in the front of the thigh and the hip. If you're feeling any strain in the knee joint lying on your front, you're welcome to roll over onto your left side and do the posture on your side. And gently releasing your right hand from your right foot, let the leg float down and switching sides, coming into the pose on the left side. Bring the heel in towards the buttocks. You can imagine your hamstrings softening at the backs of the thighs and lengthening out through the front of that knee. On the next exhalation, releasing the foot, lengthen the leg back out along the floor and preparing for the double-legged bow. Bend both knees, bring the heels back and take hold of the ankles or the feet. If you don't feel comfortable taking hold of both legs, you can continue doing the single-legged bow, just alternating from one side to the other. Preparing for full bow, on the inhalation, lift the chin and the chest, roll the shoulder blades towards one another, and try to lift the thighs off the floor. It's important to remember that your lower back shouldn't feel any strain, so if you are, just gently come down or come into the single-legged bow variation. Keep the belly pulled in towards the spine. Think about the chest opening and a lengthening in the fronts of the thighs. Relax the face and continue to breathe deeply. This can be an intense posture on the hips and the back, so please listen to what your body's telling you. On the next exhalation, slowly release yourself down. Let go of the ankles, place your hands on the mat, and push yourself back to child's pose, lengthening out of the spine. Sit right back on the heels and let your arms relax, either out in front, or make a pillow with your hands for your forehead, or lengthen the arms alongside the legs. Breathe here. On the next inhalation, pull the belly button in towards the spine. Slowly roll yourself up to sit back towards the heels, and then bring yourself right up onto the knees. Preparing for camel pose, bring the knees together. Think about squeezing the inner thighs. Place the hands on the lower back with the fingertips pointed downwards, shoulders pulled down and away from the ears. On the inhalation, lift the chest. Imagine lengthening upwards. Let the hips come forward and lean into a gentle back bend. Two more options here. You can either stay in camel pose as is, or you can tuck the toes under, lifting the heels slightly up into the air. Reach back and take hold of one heel at a time. And I'll urge you to remember, if there's any strain on the lower back, please stay in the first phase of the pose. The hips are gently lengthened forward, belly is pulled in to protect the back, chest is open. If you feel like going a little bit deeper, you can untuck the toes and bring the feet flat to the mat. Allow the hips to remain open and let the chest remain up. If there's any strain on the neck, feel free to bring the chin in towards the chest. Be aware of your core as you come out of this. Pull the belly in towards the spine. Bring your right hand onto your lower back. Then your left hand. Support yourself as you come up. Reaching the arms forward, we'll come back into child's pose, lengthening down and releasing the back and shoulders. If you feel any strain at all in child's pose on the knees or on the thighs, feel free to come onto your back and hug your knees in towards your chest. Preparing to come into dolphin pose now, clasp your elbows with your hands and plant the elbows firmly on the mat. Keep the elbows firmly planted and then clasp the hands in front of the elbows. Push into the mat with the forearms, tuck the toes under and lift the buttocks into the air. Again, it's important to keep the core strong here. And imagine the shoulder blades pulling away from the ears so the arms are sturdy. If there's any strain on the back in this position, you can bring your knees to the floor or you can walk your feet a little bit further back. As you keep the core strong, we're going to exhale the chin forward in front of the hands towards the mat. Inhale, lift your chin back towards your chest as you bring your torso backwards. Exhaling forward and inhaling back. Controlled movements as you continue moving through dolphin pose. Remembering if there's any strain on your shoulders, back, or legs, you can bring the knees to the floor or walk the feet back a little bit. Exhaling forward and inhaling back. Making sure to use your core to bring yourself back, pulling the belly button towards the spine, so you're not using your back muscles unnecessarily. And completing one more, exhaling forward, inhaling back. Release the knees down to the floor and come to rest in child's pose once more, letting everything release. Child's pose is a great resting pose to release the lower back, the thighs, the spine, and the shoulders. Slowly rolling up on the next inhalation, tuck the tailbone under, pull the belly in towards the spine, let the shoulders come away from the ears. Bring your buttocks over to one side and come to a seated position on the mat with your legs straight out in front of you. Feel free to bring your thighs out from underneath you to ensure that you're sitting right up on your sitting bones. If you feel like you can't sit upright, feel free to place a blanket underneath your buttocks or to roll the mat up so it gives you a little bit of height. Keep the spine long as we go into the seated forward bend, inhaling the arms up overhead, lengthening, and then exhaling. Imagine your chest being gently pulled forward as you lengthen into the forward bend. Allow the arms to come down and take hold of your legs wherever you can. If you feel any strain on the lower back, you're welcome to bend your knees slightly. Make sure the neck and head are relaxed and that the spine is lengthening from the tailbone right up to the crown of the head. If there's any strain on the neck, feel free to bring your chin in towards your chest slightly. You can also imagine pushing your heels towards the front of the mat and the backs of the knees down towards the mat to facilitate a deeper stretch of the hamstrings. With each exhalation, see if you can sink a little bit more deeply into the pose, pulling the belly button in towards the spine. On the next inhalation, reach the arms out, lengthen them upwards, and bring the hands to the floor behind you with the fingertips pointed towards the hips. Bend the knees, place the feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, and coming up into reverse table, lift the hips up into the air. Pulling the belly button in towards the spine, open the chest. If you feel comfortable, you can let your head float backwards. Any strain on the neck, keep the chin tucked in towards the chest. The hips are lifted as high as is comfortable. Again, noticing if there's any strain on the lower back. On the next exhalation, release your buttocks down to the floor, and we'll come into the straight leg version, the incline plane. Pushing into the palms, inhale, lift the hips up off the floor, send the toes towards the mat, open the chest. This can sometimes be an intense pose on the lower back, so you're welcome to come back into reverse table. Again, any strain on the neck, keep the chin tucked in towards the chest. On the next exhalation, release the buttocks down to the floor. And you can rotate your wrists to give your hands a little bit of a break. And releasing the hands back down to the mat. Bend the right knee and place the right foot on the outside of the left leg. If you're flexible enough, you can bend that left knee and place the heel in towards the right buttock for the seated spinal twist. If you find that your right buttock is coming off the mat in this position, please keep the leg extended straight out. Reaching the right arm behind you, place it on the floor behind your hip to act as a pillar for your spine. Reach your left arm up into the air and take hold of the knee, hugging it in towards your chest as you twist to look over your right shoulder. Think about that right shoulder blade opening, so the chest is open, the shoulder blades are squeezing gently towards one another. With each exhalation, imagine pulling your belly button towards the spine, facilitating a deeper stretch of the spine. Relax the face, make sure you're breathing. On the next exhalation, releasing yourself back towards the front. Uncross the legs and switching sides. The left leg wrapping over and placing your foot on the floor. You can keep your right leg extended if you'd like, or tucking the heel in towards the left buttock. Reaching the left hand behind you, place the hand on the floor as a pillar of support for your spine. Reach your right arm up into the air and hug the knee in towards the chest as you look over your left shoulder. Again, making sure that the chest is open and that the twist is facilitated by pulling the belly in towards the spine and twisting with each exhalation. Aim to keep both buttocks firmly planted on the floor. The seated spinal twist is a great posture for increasing flexibility in the spine. It also helps open the hips and increases flexibility on the outside edge of the leg. And gently releasing back to the front, uncrossing the legs and sending the legs out along the mat. Shake the feet in and out. And then bringing your buttocks to the middle of the mat, bend the knees and place the feet flat on the floor, preparing to come into boat pose. It's important to keep the core engaged here. We're working the abdominal muscles and keeping the chest open. Pull the belly in towards the spine and up towards the rib cage. Lean your weight back between the sits bones and the tailbone and bring the hands underneath the thighs. As you inhale, lift the calves so they're parallel to the floor and let your torso lean back slightly as if you're just gently leaning into someone's hand. Keep the chest lifted, crown of the head lengthened. As we engage the core, it's important to keep the face relaxed. Taking 2 more deep breaths here. And gently releasing the feet down, just hugging the knees, dropping the chin to the chest. Coming into boat pose once again. Lean your weight back between the sits bones and the tailbone. Pull the belly in and up. Lift the calves so they're parallel to the floor. This time you have the option of either staying here with the hands behind the thighs or lengthening the arms out alongside the shins. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears, relax the face, and let the crown of the head lengthen upwards. Sometimes it helps to keep the knees squeezed together, so you're activating the inner thighs as well as the pelvic floor. Exhaling, releasing down. Hug the knees, drop the chin, relax the belly. And coming into boat one last time, allow yourself to lean back. Lift the calves off the floor, keep the belly pulled in towards the spine. Hands are either behind the thighs, alongside the shins, and if you'd like to go even deeper, you can straighten the legs up into the air. If you need to hold on behind the thighs in this pose, feel free to do so, but again, keep the thought of keeping the inner thighs squeezed together. And exhaling, releasing down. Hug the knees, drop the chin, breathe. Coming down onto our backs now. Allow the legs to lengthen out along the floor. Let the palms come face down on either side of the hips. Continuing with some abdominal strengthening. Bend both knees, bring the knees in towards the chest, and imagine pushing the lower back gently into the mat. The belly button is pulled in towards the spine, and extend the legs up into the air as if you're trying to touch the ceiling with the heels of the feet. If at any point you need to bring your hands underneath your buttocks for support for the lower back, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, bring your palms face down. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, you can bring your arms above your head with the palms face up, letting your arms come out to the side gently. Keep the lower back connected with the floor, and on the exhalation, point the toes of the right foot and lower your leg down to 2 inches above the floor. The core remains strong and sturdy. Flex the foot, inhale the leg back up. Point the toes of the left foot and exhale the leg down to 2 inches above the floor. Flex the foot, inhale, bring the leg back up. Releasing the right leg down on the exhalation. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale the right leg down. Check in with the back. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale the left leg down. Keep those core muscles working. Left foot comes up. Exhale the right leg down. Inhaling it up. Exhale the left foot down. And inhale up. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Give the belly a little bit of a break. Let the lower back soften. And we'll come into the double leg lifts. Again, bring the hands either palms face down on either side of the hips, underneath the buttocks for support for the lower back, or for a bit more of a challenge, the arms above the head, palms open. Straighten the legs up towards the ceiling. If the double leg lifts are too much for you, feel free to continue doing the single leg lifts. Otherwise, keeping the core engaged, push the lower back towards the mat. Exhale, lower both legs down to 2 inches above the floor with control. Keep the core strong, the legs steady. Inhale, back up. Exhaling down, keeping the toes pointed. And then flex the feet, inhale, back up. Exhale down. And inhale up. And continuing on with this movement, just being sure that if there's any pain in the lower back, you have the option of not going as deeply to the floor. You can go halfway down if that's comfortable for you, just listening to your body. You may feel heat building in the body in this pose. That's entirely normal. Exhaling down and inhaling up. Once more. Exhale the legs down, keeping them strong, flexing the feet, inhaling up. Hug the knees in towards the chest, just gently rock from side to side, and let the belly and the lower back completely release. Preparing to come into bridge pose now, bring the feet to the floor, hip width apart, about 1.5 inches away from the buttocks. It's important here to make sure that the knees stay parallel and that they don't splay out during this pose. So imagine squeezing a tennis ball between the upper inner thighs. Push into the feet, and as you inhale, lift the buttocks off the floor and lift the spine right up so you're coming right up onto your shoulders. If there's any strain on the lower back here, you can come down a little bit. But if you feel comfortable, you can lift your torso up. Imagine breathing right into the rib cage. And to come into a chest opener with bridge, roll the shoulder blades towards one another underneath the body. The palms are either face down or interlaced, clasping, sending the fingers towards the heels. Make sure the neck is relaxed and breathe deeply, letting the jaw be soft. Holding here. Feel the strength in the legs, the openness of the hips, and the strength of the spine. There shouldn't be any strain in the neck. If you are feeling strain in the neck, allow your shoulders to relax a little bit and come down slightly. Try not to let your head rock from side to side. You want to keep it in line with the spine. The chin should be slightly tucked so you're not hyperextending the neck in any way. You can either stay here in bridge, or to challenge yourself a little bit more with some leg strengthening, bring the feet a little closer together. Keep that left foot firmly planted and lift the right leg up into the air, flexing the foot. Imagine pushing the heel towards the ceiling. If there's any strain on the lower back, please come back into gentle bridge. Make sure that your hips stay high, that left leg is strong and sturdy. And lowering the right foot to the floor, firmly plant the foot and switch sides. Lifting the left leg up into the air, pushing the heel towards the ceiling. Again, try not to let your hips lower. The core is strong, the back is strong. And exhale, bring the left foot back down, separate the feet once more. And keeping the hips up there, release the arms out from underneath you, coming into a T pose with the arms. Let your shoulders relax away from one another as you reach your arms right alongside the body. Exhale, lower the spine down slowly, one vertebra at a time, letting the tailbone be the last thing to release. Walk the feet a little bit further away from the buttocks and let the lower back relax. Preparing to come into a spinal twist from here, wrap your right leg around the left leg as if you're sitting cross-legged. Allow the legs to drop over to the left side of the body and look over your right shoulder, aiming to keep your right shoulder as released to the floor as possible. If you feel any strain in the knees in this position, you can bring your knees back up, uncross the legs, and let the knees just drop over on top of one another to the left side of the body. Breathing here, as you inhale, allow the rib cage to fill with the breath. And as you exhale, let the spine and the hips release. Inhaling the legs back up. Uncross them if they're crossed. If they're together, just place the feet flat on the floor. Going to the other side, wrapping the left leg around the right. If you're going into the cross-legged, and let the knees drop to the right side of the body. Look over your left shoulder and aim to keep that left shoulder as released as possible. If there's any strain on the neck looking over the shoulder, you're welcome to look up to the ceiling. Breathing into the torso, relaxing the face. And inhaling, bringing the legs back up. If they're crossed, uncrossing them and placing the feet flat on the floor. Hug the knees in towards the chest once more, and then keeping hold of the shins, separate the knees slightly so they come out on either side of the rib cage. You can either keep your hands on your shins in this position, or to come a little bit deeper into happy baby posture, lift the legs up, take hold of the outside edges of the feet. As you're bringing the knees down towards the floor, you can imagine that if we flipped you upside down, that you'd land on your feet in this position in a crouch. You can either stay still holding this pose, or you can rock gently from side to side, opening the hips, the groins, and the pelvis. Coming back to stillness, release the feet and gently float the legs back down to the floor and send the legs out along the mat. And this concludes our mat sequence. And coming into our final 5 minutes of relaxation called Shavasana. This is an important time to integrate all of the postures that you took your body through today and allow the body to let go and release. Take this time for yourself to relax. Let your eyes close. Relinquish any control over the breath and just simply let the breath come in and out of the body. Let your feet be at least hip width apart, letting the legs soften in the hip sockets. Allow your palms to be face up on either side of the hips. And let the root of your tongue soften. Bring your attention to your legs from your feet and ankles right up to the hip sockets. Allow the toes to soften. Let the arches of the feet release. And let the ankles and calves relax. Let your knees and thighs soften, allowing your legs to completely release. Bring your attention to your torso. Imagine breathing right into the belly, the rib cage, and the chest. And as you exhale, let the belly soften. Allow the rib cage to relax. And let the chest be open and released. Think about the spine and all of the muscles surrounding the spine, just relaxing into the mat. Letting go of any holding or tension. Allow the shoulder blades to release away from one another. And allow your arms to relax from the shoulders right down to the palms and fingertips. Letting everything soften. Bring your attention to your head, neck, and face. Let your throat relax. Let there be space in the jaw. Allow your eyes and forehead to release. And let go completely. Breathing in and out, observing the breath. And keeping your eyes closed and your awareness inside the body, just bring your attention back to your extremities, wiggling the fingers and toes a couple of times. Let the head rock gently from side to side. And then come back to stillness. Observe any sensations or feelings in the body. And reach the arms back behind the head, giving the body a deep, long stretch. Deepen your breath, inhaling, flexing the feet, pushing the heels towards the front of the room. And as you exhale, gently hug the knees in towards the chest. You can rock from side to side if you'd like. Reaching up along the floor with the right arm above the head, roll over onto your right side, resting your right ear on your right shoulder. Take a moment here to thank yourself for taking time out for yourself today and for connecting with the body and the mind and the breath. With awareness, slowly bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Allow your spine to lengthen upwards. Feel your sits bones connect with the mat. Take a deep inhalation, and as you exhale, drop the shoulders away from the ears and bring your hands into prayer pose in front of the heart. Namaste.